The Cleveland Cavaliers are going into their most important offseason in the last decade. Last year, they were the shocking team of the East, winning 64 games, more than the then defending champion Boston Celtics, only to lose in the second round. Now, everything in the East is different. Indiana will not be competing. Boston will not be competing. Milwaukee will not be competing. The East is more wide open than we have ever seen it in recent history. Cleveland needs to take advantage of it. This is the best chance they will ever have to build with this current core. Welcome to 30 Teams, 30 Days. Let's get into the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last year had so much promise only to end with a disappointing result. Best record in the East over the then defending champions. Donovan Mitchell took a step back from his hero ball, and Kenny Atkinson won Coach of the Year, in my opinion, pretty convincingly. And then the Pacers happened, and the best team in the East was slain in just 5 games. But Cleveland is still in one of the better positions to win it all. Right now, they are still the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. There are 5 teams in the East that have a solid chance of going to the NBA Finals, but Cleveland is still the best of them. They have gone out and made 3 moves that will put them in a better position to dominate the East again. The first and probably least impactful of these moves is the addition of Tyrese Proctor from Duke University. Proctor became a star on the powerhouse team in his 3rd year, shooting 40% from 3 on a solid volume. The 6'5" guard also has shown improvement in his ball handling and playmaking. Even in his rookie season, I think Tyrese Proctor is in a position to be a good guard coming off of the bench for the Cavaliers. During his time at Duke, especially in his junior year, I was a huge fan of him, especially playing alongside Cooper Flagg, but we're gonna have to see if he can make it work at the NBA level without having a star forward with him. What makes me excited for him is that he fills a weakness that crushed this team in the postseason, and that was their 3-point shooting. Cleveland was the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA last year if you look at their efficiency and volume being second in both. However, this 38% 3-point shooting team dropped to a 29% 3-point shooting team in the second round against the Pacers. It was a pretty massive drop-off as Garland was still injured, Ty Jerome couldn't carry his first-round magic, and even Donovan Mitchell shot just 25%. Proctor gives them what could be a solid shooter coming off of the bench, and it's just a small role, but I think he could help this usually great shooting team. Like I said, Tyrese Proctor was the small addition this offseason. The 2 other moves that the Cleveland Cavaliers made were very underrated, but they could be the tweak that is needed, and that is Lonzo Ball and Larry Nance Jr. Let's talk about Lonzo Ball first because he is a very interesting case. In 2024, the Thunder lost in the semifinals, added Alex Caruso, and won the NBA Finals. The year before that, the Celtics lost in the conference finals, added Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, and won the NBA Finals. When the Nuggets won the NBA Finals, they added Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and you can see how this trend carries on from year to year. The last 4 NBA champions failed in some way, usually somewhat in a disappointing way, made a small tweak instead of blowing up their entire core, and that small tweak was the difference maker in them winning it all. Lonzo Ball is a good playmaker, defender, and even recently 3-point shooter with a savvy basketball mind that leads to winning. He makes a lot of plays that don't always show up on the box score. Yes, 7 3-3 is not that impressive, especially on his shooting splits, but do you want to know what is impressive? Having the 2nd best on-off rating on the entire Chicago Bulls roster of almost 10 points per 100 possessions. He managed to do that last year, and that was on being a minutes restriction and probably not being 100% yet. Now, imagine him on the best team he's been on in his entire career. Imagine him being on a smaller role, and imagine him coming off of the bench. This could be a golden opportunity for Lonzo. Lonzo probably won't be as good as he could have been, and he may not even be as good as he was during that first year in Chicago and during his time in New Orleans, but I still think he has so much promise to be that Alex Caruso that the Cleveland Cavaliers need. On top of that, I really like this fit with this current backcourt. He can play alongside Proctor, he can play alongside Mitchell, he can play alongside Garland, he can play the 1 or 2 position. Even after all this time, he's a high-level playmaker, he can defend really well, and he's a near 39% shooter from just a few years ago. Donovan Mitchell is clearly one of the best players in the league, especially when it comes to hero ball, but hero ball does not win you championships. Hero ball usually stalls your offense, and I think Lonzo Ball can prevent that hero ball trap. At the very least, he is another elite playmaker on this squad, and I think him combined with Tyrese Proctor is going to make up for the loss of Ty Jerome this offseason. Of course, that is all barring that he is actually healthy, something that's been a major struggle for him basically his entire career. He played just 35 games last year, missed the previous 2 seasons, and then played 55 and then 35 games respectively. Lonzo Ball just doesn't have a lot of playing time in the NBA. He's only played over 60 games once since his career started in 2017. Also, the fact that Lonzo Ball's career started in 2017 is absolutely insane because I remember watching him in Chino Hills like it was yesterday. God, we're old. Isaac Okoro actually played 3 less minutes per game last year, and he only played 55 games. Yes, Okoro is usually healthier, at least historically, but coming off of last season, neither player played that much. Lonzo is, in my opinion, the better player, or at the very least has higher upside and on a cheaper contract. For Chicago, I still love the move because I think Okoro does have upside, but I think this could be a winning move for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland needed to shake things up, and Lonzo Ball is the shake that was needed, but they also did that again with the addition of bringing back Larry Nance Jr. Larry Nance Jr. was one of the more sought-after role players in this free agency, and he was definitely not someone that they should have been able to sign on a team-friendly contract. The Cavaliers are one of the more expensive teams in the NBA, and they didn't really have a lot of room, so that's why Nance Jr. wasn't really talked about him a whole lot, but they got him for a veterans minimum deal, an absolute bargain for a guy like Nance. Now, there still are drawbacks. He's going to be 33 next year. He is coming off of a season where injuries took down his entire season, so he only played around 24 games. But if he stays healthy and if he doesn't really show a lot of progression from his age, he could be huge for Cleveland. For his career, Larry Nance Jr. is a good defender who's around a 35% three-point shooter, and he can throw down the occasional lob while just being an overall tough guy. He stands about 6'8", 6'9", making him that perfect modern NBA center. And according to Basketball Reference, he spent about 50% of his career at the center position, so that checks out. He can swap in or play alongside both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen really well, and like I said, he adds in that toughness that those smaller centers usually have, and toughness was definitely something this Cleveland team lacked last year's playoffs. At the very least, Nance Jr. adds to this team's depth, and I think that means that Dean Wade won't be having to play as many minutes as he did last season. And depth is the name of the game, not just in the NBA, but especially for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as injuries to this team's core has been their issue for the last 4 years now. But the good thing with their roster additions over this offseason, that being Larry Nance Jr. and Lonzo Ball, is injuries aren't too critical. These guys won't be playing heavy minutes because they shouldn't be relied on as consistent starters. Less minutes means less chance of an injury, and even if an injury happens, the fact that they're bench players, that means that an injury shouldn't be as impactful to Cleveland as a whole. But the injuries that are important are the ones that happen to their core between Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley. Basically, one of these guys every single year since they've all been together has been dealing with an injury. All of them have basically gotten injured at one point, and they never get injured at the same time, so there's never that perfect year of recovery. Injuries unfortunately happen, but for Cleveland, they have been probably one of the main reasons why this team hasn't been able to put it all together. I'm not saying we're at the blow-up part of this team's timeline. After all, they've only had 1 year under Kenny Atkinson, who is, in my opinion, a top 5 coach and is clearly the right man for the squad. But what about their roster's construction? Another year of things stalling out, and I can't help but wonder if the clock is starting to tick on these unique duos. Any other year, this wouldn't be a question, but in a year without the Bucks, without the Pacers, and without the Celtics, the Cavaliers don't just have the best chance to win, this is the year that they need to win. If they can't win with a Celtics without Tatum, and if they can't win against the Pacers without Halliburton, how can this core win against those teams? Even though that's kind of a scary thought, overall Cleveland Cavaliers fans should be really excited. They brought in some great new additions, and they still have one of the best cores in the league, and now they have one of the best coaches in the league. This has been 30 Teams in 30 Days. If you liked the video, you know what to do, and I will catch you all next time.